Hi, this is Colleen with Chats with Colleen. This is going to be an episode with Al Nicoletti, who is a Florida probate attorney. He's out of Jacksonville, Florida, and he is very well versed in probate and the probate process. I remember meeting him about 4 years ago, and I remember the probate Macarena with the dance. And I remember how animated and how enthusiastic and how smart and knowledgeable and how informative that he was. And I didn't even know really at that point, after doing insurance and all this for all this time, really what probate meant. But he explained it, how they go through the whole process to weed out who the owners are of the property after a death of somebody, and how complex it can be and how long it can take. And certain counties in Florida are a little bit more challenging to deal with. But Al has the ticket, the key to deal with all of them. So I'm so glad that he joined us here on this episode. The connection was a bit spotty, so we're going to do our best to get it to everybody because he has great information to share. As usual. But I'm so honored that he took time out of the day to join us on Chats with Colleen and provide great information and a breakdown and just a general information of really what probate is and how people shouldn't be scared of it if they do find a property that they're interested in that is in the probate process, how he can be helpful to them. And I know he's super energetic. He runs his own podcast that's filmed live. So he's really neat. And he has a lot of great information to share. So we're so glad that he's here. Again, we're glad that you're joining us. If you would like to join us, our podcast is produced on location in Lake Mary, Florida. You're more than welcome to come in here anytime and join us for a recording at your time and on your topic of choice. We can also do it remotely if you wish and to do so. Also, the podcast is streamed on many platforms. So please tune in, like, and share, and give us any comments or feedback. We appreciate you so much. And thank you again. See you soon.
Yeah,
So
perfect.
Al,
Yeah.
Al Nicoletti, thanks for joining me today on Chats with Colleen. I know we've met each other briefly, maybe like 4 years ago. So I'm really excited that I've been seeing you on the internet with all your meetups and your podcast. So it seems like you've really grown socially in the media and things like that. So I'm really glad that you met with me and you remembered who I was. So that's really exciting. So, in simple terms, what is probate? Because for us normal people who don't deal with that on,
Ah,
every day.
So go for it again because it cut out.
So, what in simple terms is probate? What does it mean and what is
So,
it?
in really simple terms, probate is the process that we have to go through when trying to transfer an ownership interest in something. So, if somebody owns a house, a car, a bank account, an IRA, and that type of asset is in somebody's individual name, and there is no instrument that helps automatically transfer that asset upon death, whether the bank account has a payable on death beneficiary, a ladybird deed, or any type of transfer on death. If nothing's in place, it's in that person's name, we have to get it out of that person's name to transfer it to who the heirs are. And that process of getting all the documents, the death certificate, the paperwork together, that stuff that we're using, we're putting it through court, we're filing it, and then eventually getting a court order. And that order is what now puts the title in the heir's name so they can sell it, they can transfer it, they can convey it, they can do what they need to with that asset.
Oh, okay. And so when you mentioned bank account, that, got my attention. So I have, my business bank account, and I'm wondering, I need to add somebody on it if I happen to die, they can get the money. Because if I don't do that, my money's just going to be sitting there and it will go to probate. Okay. So due upon death or something, I add them on there, right?
Yeah. So what we've seen some people do is they'll add it as a payable on death beneficiary.
Okay.
So some people add the other person to the account, but if you add the other person to the account, then they have access to the account, and it depends on the control and what do you want. But what
Right.
what people will do is they'll put a payable on death beneficiary so that upon death the asset transfers out.
Oh, that's a good idea. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. So
Yeah.
probate, and I hear a lot about this because I have people call and they ask me, oh, about all my insurance. How can I insure this house? It's still in my mother's name and she's passed away. And, we all know like insurable interest in my job. Obviously, if somebody's passed away, there's no insurable interest. And so I always tell them it's got to be in the estate name or, whoever's entitled to the property. And they're like, oh, it's going through probate. Can this be a long process, the probate process?
So, Colleen, a lot of people get blown away when I talk about this. And people have always heard probate taking a year longer, or they get turned off by it because they don't want to do it because they hear it's going to take that long. A lot of these probates that I've been able to take on have been done in a matter of weeks to a month or two, and maybe at the latest 4 or 5 months in certain counties because certain counties are slower. This
Oh,
process can be very streamlined. It can
oh
be
wow.
fast, it can be efficient. And of course, that is uncontested probates, right? Like where you have 4 kids, they all agree, or the spouse and the kids, they all agree. The ones that are litigated, the ones that are going to get a little contentious, sure, those are ones that are going to take a little bit longer. Those are the ones that can take a year, 2 years. But the others, those are processes that can take a matter of weeks, and people are just shocked by it.
Oh wow. That's
Yeah.
not long at all. A matter
No.
of weeks. Yeah. Like I've always heard the word probate and it sounds like it's a long drawn out thing, but if people are agreeable to it, it's easier. Hmm,
Right.
perfect. Well, then now I want to ask you, how did you get into this line of work?
It's a crazy story. But really really started in law school. My best friend Jesse, he had been doing probate, working as a clerk in a firm, doing a lot of probate, and I didn't even know what it was at the time. We all take the bar. I get a job. He gets a job. And I'm doing a lot of foreclosure defense. And he's like, hey, there's this really interesting niche out there, probate. I'm thinking, what in the world is probate? And then I sat down, I looked at it, I saw the numbers, and I realized that there were just so many properties that were out there, Colleen, that were still titled in somebody's name that died. And in order to get it out of that person's name, they had to go through probate, but they didn't have a solution. So it really started back in 2017, 2018, where that seed started to get planted and grew from there as, wait, there is really a need and a niche that people aren't talking about or getting into. And I was able to find a formula, find a system to be able to grow that side of my practice. And then, of course, from years later, now have my own law firm specifically on probate. And it's boom from there. But the origin story was doing a deep dive on what were the numbers, what was the potential, where's this market actually headed. And I didn't want to get into something without knowing where the market was headed. So it was headed to a huge increase in baby boomers owning property. And so that's just going to keep translating to more potential probates, more things on our side of probate in our legal business.
And Florida is probably like the perfect place for it. Probate
Anywhere, really. I mean,
anywhere.
anywhere but Florida for sure. I mean, and it doesn't matter what county it is. It's everywhere.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
always problems. There's sadly people are always dying, but passing away every day. So does a trust prevent a property or an asset going into probate?
Does a trust so a trust property avoids probate. So this is where a lot of people get this wrong. Just because you've gone to a lawyer and you've gotten a trust doesn't mean you now have avoided probate. You still need to title those assets into the trust.
Oh,
So what people will do is they'll just make a trust and think, oh, I'm done. You're not done. You still need to title that asset into the trust. And so if you do that, then you avoid probate. But we've had a lot of stories where heirs have gotten a trust done. They title it, and they title all their other properties in another state in the trust, but they forget the Florida properties. And then all of a sudden now they all are doing probate here. So it does avoid probate, but it only avoids probate when you do it the right way.
right. There's steps to it. I get it. How about doing a
Yeah.
will? Could that prevent the probate too, or it does not?
It does. So a will, even though there is a will, you still need to go through that court process. And that is a misconception a lot of people have. They think that by having the will, they avoid going through probate, but you don't. You still have to go through that process.
Right. Because a will is just directing where the person wants their items, their assets, their monies to go, but there's still a legal process, besides that. Interesting. And do
Oh, it's
you
still a whole
offer,
process. Yes.
it seems like it. I mean, when the person leaves, there's a lot that's left over behind. So your practice offers wills as well?
No, I don't handle any estate planning. So
Okay.
my practice is the is
The
the
after.
after death practice, the before death. That's the estate planning. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So they have to do both. They have to do the estate planning before their stuff or whatever gets to you and you investigate it.
Yeah. Well, for a lot of people, it's suggested that they get their estate planning done beforehand, but there's a lot of people that there's usually a stat that's thrown out there that 95% of people don't even have their estate plan together.
Right. I would say most
Yeah.
don't because it's not like they're not expecting to die, maybe early or unexpected or, an accident happened. So it's imperative that people start planning this stuff so it's not a big mess in the, long run. So I've heard
Right.
the words or the name quiet title. What does that really mean?
It is a court process to try to silence any and all potential interest on the property. It's a full lawsuit. It's the type of lawsuit that can actually end up taking 6 months, a year, maybe longer. And what you're doing is you're trying to name all the potential parties that appear on a title commitment or appear on a chain of title to do a clear down. And you're serving all potential parties to now silence their interest so that you can get marketable, insurable title to that property, and the title insurance company will write a policy for it. But it
Oh,
is a long, drawn out process that takes a lot of due diligence. It costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of time.
oh, wow. Jeez. I
Yeah.
hope I never have to do that.
It's in the beginning of my practice, I'm thinking, oh, it'd be great to pick up a lot of these. And sure, like maybe if the juice is worth the squeeze, it's worth doing. But I don't think a lot of people realize how long it actually can take.
Right. I think, and especially with today's society, everybody wants everything pretty much right, like right away. I know
Yeah.
with my business, when are you going to get it to me? Can I get this done? And I'm like, yeah, so there's some steps I have to do. So anything with legal, always know that's always a process. I mean, just getting a piece of paper done can take months because there's so much that lawyers have to do and read through and, meticulate. So that's why it's time consuming. How much does the
Mm.
typical probate case cost? I mean, just in general, how much could someone plan to spend?
It really depends. And it's a really tough question to answer because it really depends on a lot of factors, right? It depends on what county are we in, how many heirs are we dealing with, how sticky of a situation it is. It's really tough to put what that number is. And I tell people now, whenever there's a potential case, let's see it, let's sit down, let's look at it. We have a whole checklist of items that we need. But once we actually see what's going on under the hood, that's when we can make that determination, say, hey, this is what's possible. Because what will happen is you'll hear a price and you'll think, well, that is the price for any kind of probate. And it's like, no, I pick up probates where there's like sometimes 8 probates for one property.
Wow, because you have 8 people to go through.
Yes.
That's a lot of work. So it can't be just a typical price for their
Yes,
case
it's a lot
because
of work.
it's a lot of work, and especially if you're charging by the hour or, each piece of paper, that's a lot. Each time you have to file
Yeah.
something, there's a charge for everything. So it is expensive. I can see why people don't want to do that. Why they would say, oh, just let it go or whatever. But like you said, there's so many properties out there. And that's another good question. There's clients, people that want to buy properties that are in probate. And I get emails back, oh, this one can't be closed right now. It's in probate. So when they're going through the probate, that's when the person that wants to buy it is trying to pull that property from probate, correct? So they can actually
Yeah.
purchase it.
When they're trying to, what you're saying, like when they're trying to buy the property, right?
Right.
So you're trying
Correct.
to buy property that is going to need probate. You can't buy it until it goes through probate yet.
Correct.
Right.
And
So there's a,
sometimes like the person that wants to buy it doesn't find out until it goes to the title company. And that's how they're like, oh, no, this
right.
one's not, it's going through probate. It's got some title issues. I mean,
Right.
obviously.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize it needs it until they actually go to the title company. And then from there, they find out it needs it.
Right. And then it's a mess because they want to buy it. But then sometimes it can take them like 6, 7 months because, like you mentioned, they have all those family members that they have to go through and everybody has to agree because anything about money with family members becomes sticky.
Always, every time with family, right? It becomes sticky. Anytime money hits the table, it gets different and weird.
Yeah, they become different
Yes.
people.
Yes.
So, with that being said, what is your best story? Crazy or not, sad, anything related to a probate deal? I bet you have like 10,000 of them, but just give me a
Oh
couple.
my gosh. I mean, there's so many different ones that there's so many different ones we've been through. I'll tell you the most recent one. It was an 8 probate deal about a month ago. And you're probably thinking like 8 probates. It all started because of a 1/4 interest on property that somebody owned and they died. And when you do an entire analysis just from that 1/4, this guy had a will and he had a will and it left it to 9 people. And of
Oh,
the 9 people, three or 4 of them were deceased and they all died after the person that had the will. So we're having to do this entire breakdown. Well, anyway, the crazy story about it really wasn't the fact that it was 8. It was all of a sudden we told everybody, said, hey, this is going to take like 6 months, like putting all the paperwork together. It's going to take a while. All of a sudden, they found out that the lender or the end buyer didn't want to wait that long, and they said that they were going to pull out in 3 weeks unless it was done. So we were literally scrambling for 3 weeks just to get 8 probates done. Come to find out, we scrambled, got it done, and they found out the payoff ended up being 3 times higher than what everybody anticipated, and everybody's numbers went like
oh my God.
this. And most memorable one I've had in a while that was very the expectations were set, but there were just so many other factors that ended up taking place that nobody anticipated. And it was a lot for sure.
Wow. And so then they couldn't even go through with the deal because there wasn't enough money to pay it off.
Oh, oh no, they went through the deal. I made sure that they went through the deal.
Of
They went through
course.
the deal. Um, Yeah, but they made a lot less money than they were
Than they were thinking.
expecting to make. Yes, yes.
Oh, that was upsetting to them. But in all honesty, I mean, they have to get rid of it at some point because there's too many people for them to argue about. Wow. I can't believe that you got that done in 3 weeks for them and then they were still,
Yeah, that was
it was so
that was
much.
yeah, that it was a lot more, it was a lot crazier than people realized. Yes.
I bet. And I bet you have to deal with all different like personalities because you have all different family members or people who haven't talked to each other in maybe 15 years. And now somebody died. There's a little bit of cash at hand. They're going to they want that money. And so they don't want that other person to get any more than them. And yeah, it can get nasty. So with that being
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
can the job, which I know yes, but can it be stressful? Like, do you get really stressed out doing your job?
There's good days and bad days.
Yeah.
And there's really crazy days. Um, everybody has them. Um, I definitely would say that, yeah, there's been some really stressful days when it comes to this, because I think what happens is no matter what kind of expectation you set, people have their own expectation. And so it's constantly reminding and explaining to them what the real process is. And so for me, it's an everyday run of the mill, but for other people, it's their first time. They've never been through it, and they have a lot of other people breathing down their necks, and potential buyers and deadlines, and they see all these things, and they don't want to be responsible. So there's a lot of moving parts in trying to calm people down and set expectations. But overall, I've gotten used to it in 7 years. I mean, I wouldn't say fully, but way better than I used to be, for sure. I mean, this is not the version of me in 2019 when there would be something blowing up. It'd be very different. Even 3 years ago, it'd be very different.
No, really? Well, that's good. Yeah, I understand about that. Like, I do this stuff every day. So the terms, the words, the waiting period, the things that I have to do, it's all normal to me. But then sometimes I'm like, well, it's not normal to the client because they don't do insurance. So they don't understand what I'm saying. So I try to pull myself back and say, okay, but I will tell you this job for me, it's super stressful. And so I try to take time out, do deep breathing, do exercise, and try to just remember that like I have to take a step back, like I can't finish everything in 5 minutes. I can't even finish everything in a day. And like you're not supposed to. So
Mm.
what do you do to combat stress for yourself, just on like your own time?
It's I mean, I would just say pulling the plug, not looking at the emails, taking time to just, sit down, relax, not really doing anything work related. I think not checking your emails, because checking your emails is you're still plugged in. So anything that you can do to unplug, is good. And I just find time to get away. Honestly, I just find time to disconnect from it. And once I disconnect, I know that getting back to it feels good. So it's a matter of just stepping away from that um, constant stimuli of there's something going on, there's something happening, like what's going on, what's this. And I think that in my world helps me relax and get away from that, those processes.
Yeah, it's true. It's just not like answering emails for like, even if I do it like on the weekends for like a whole day, I'm like, oh my God. But then I feel like I actually relaxed. I didn't do anything. But then I always feel like, oh, but like you said, oh, what's going on? There's got to be something. There's something coming next. But
Right.
I think
Right.
everybody does that in this business or anybody who works, with themselves, with other people. It's having that, responsibility that's constantly like on your back is what is
Right. Right.
crazy.
Right.
But I also noticed that it looks like to me that in the past years, you've gone through a health journey. Do you want to
Yes.
share anything with that with us?
Yeah, that was crazy on its own, right? I knew that I wanted to be able to perform my best, all the time, have high energy. And I think that was a lot of the reason of having gone through it, is because there were days that I just felt so drained, and there were so many emails and so many different things going on. And then like we run a live show on Wednesday nights, And so to be able to do all of these things together, I needed to make a change. And so by retuning and refining my health and well-being, that really helped fine-tune me and translate and trickle down into my business. So I mean that was almost 2 years ago at this point. It's really crazy. But having lost basically 100 pounds really helped change my perspective and vision on what I wanted to prioritize over other things, and also help my energy levels as well. And so that was a big thing. The biggest thing was being able to have that high energy and perform at a high level.
Right. Wow. That's amazing. And 100 pounds is a lot. So, and to
Yeah.
maintain it, keep it off and keep going. Because I know, because honestly, my son lost 100 pounds probably when he was about like 18 to 19. And he's maintained it, over the past like 6 to 7 years. I can't believe he's that old,
Yeah.
but it transformed his life. And he was always like an active person, but I could just see even at that age, like he has so much more energy, stamina. It's just his sleep is better, all that. And it's just like crazy how much you do it in a slow process and it goes over and how much you can maintain it. And it's just becomes like your normal lifestyle. And that's what he said. It's just like my lifestyle, trying to eat healthy, trying to exercise. Um, and for me, I sit a lot because of the job. So I'm going to get the, elevated desk that I can get up. So I have it at home, but I need it at
Yeah.
my office because when you get older, well, I'm not that old, but sitting all day, it hurts. And then it's not healthy too. So it's just like you said, adding in things to help your energy so you can be the best for yourself and for all the people that you work for too.
Absolutely. Exactly. That's the idea.
It's totally it. So, what could you advise somebody who's wanting to maybe to start investing and possibly pick up probate properties or properties that are going through probate? Advice could you provide to them?
I mean, I think there's so many things, right? But if I had to pick one thing, I think for people, it's or actually two things. One, you need to get with the right expert on those types of deals, because if you're with the wrong expert, you could be going through a nightmarish scenario and then never want to get into the niche again. So having that one right expert that can lead you down the right path is really big. But also not being afraid to like just get started with it as well. I think a lot of people get really hung up in the education side of probate. So they don't want to they feel like they don't know what to look out for, who to get. I think just people get hung up on trying to learn everything about it. Instead, you just have to get into it, and if not, just partner with somebody or J big thing to get started.
Yeah, it's probably like you got to learn as you go. Like, I think hands-on is
Yes.
better than just, watching videos. Hands-on would be the best way to get into it. And then asking questions while you're in the middle of it would probably be the best to help you learn and gain knowledge and experience. So, if somebody
Yeah,
needed
for
to
sure.
reach out to you, what's the best way for somebody to reach out to you to inquire about your probate services?
I mean, best is reaching out to our number 904-999-0053. But of course, find us on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And we're all over the social platform. And of course, people can tune into our show, The Al Nicoletti Show, every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Audible, a lot of the streaming platforms. So people can find us there as well. And I've never really had anybody ask a probate question on the show. I don't.
Really?
I Well, no, I don't think so. I don't think anybody's actually specifically asked a probate question, but anybody can hop
So anybody can watch because I've
on,
seen it streamed.
find us and or connect with us. We go
So,
live.
so your podcast show, it's for just general real estate topics or general knowledge topics about anything?
Yeah, really. We talk about anything from single family, wholesaling, business mindset tips, entrepreneur business tips, commercial branding, marketing, anything that people can get great value on. That is really big. We just had a guy talk about TV ads and TV spending, and those
Wow.
types of episodes can really be a game changer for people. So
Of course.
anybody that we feel brings value for sure is going to be great, and we'll have people like Colleen talk about insurance, right?
So fun.
That'll be
I try to
exciting.
make it fun. That would be exciting. I try to make it fun because, insurance is one of those boring things, but right now it's a hot topic. So I'm excited to be on your live show. So,
Yeah,
yes.
it'll be great. It'll be a lot of fun.
I know, and I know this is going to stream like several other questions about probate. I wanted to give just a general summary about you and about what you offer and what it means, because I've had in the past 2 weeks, I've had people ask me about probate, about insurance, and I began to refer them. I said, you need to call Al because I don't know anything about probate. I'm not an attorney. I can't tell you anything, but I know it's probably not fun. Um, so I appreciate you again for joining me today. And I look forward to meeting with you next week on your live podcast. Thank you, Al.
It'll be fun.
Bye.
Thank you,
It'll
Colleen.
be
It'll be a
fun.
lot of fun.
You
Take care.
Thanks so much for listening and joining us. If you haven't already, please share, subscribe, and like our episodes and our podcast. Also, leave a review. It will be so helpful to us, and we would so appreciate it. Also, if you want to join us at any time, we're open to any guests joining us in person and on Zoom. We post and record episodes bi-weekly, so that's twice a month. Also, they're posted on our socials, which is Facebook, Secured Insurance Group, Instagram, Colleen Insurance Lady. This podcast was hosted by myself, Miss Colleen Pacheco, and recorded and produced and edited by Sean Spazzato. Our podcast cover art was designed and created by Norma Pacheco, and our intro and outro music is created by Lounge Bar by Geronic. Goodbye.